Having put in perspective his own journey and the impact of the decisions that have shaped his life, it was time for his audience to share a few facts about the man, Jim Ovia.
Jim is very much like my father, a very successful entrepreneur in whom relationship is very important. I remember the times in the 80s and 90s Jim would come to our house. It was about the relationship. He built the relationship from scratch and built it in a very positive way. And the second aspect is a tremendous positivity. You know, there's nothing that can't be done with a positive attitude. And of course, all that emanates from working with your gut. And working with your gut means really doing the right thing. It doesn't mean not being shrewd, but it means doing the right thing. It may not have a pecuniary goal or end to it immediately, but doing the right thing always puts you in the right place. And Zenith Bank, it's not Barclays, it's not Citibank, it's not Standard Chartered. The biggest bank in Nigeria, created by Jim, using positivity, relationship, and doing the right thing.
You know, bankers collect a lot of money, right? They're deposit collectors. There are certain people who take that money from the bankers. And those are the borrowers. So I represent the tons and tons, the thousands of Nigerian entrepreneurs that have taken a lot of money out of institutions like Zenith. And to say they've done a wonderful job in terms of supporting our businesses. But Jim, I think, has been particularly exceptional in one regard. Every single time in my career where I had a major transaction to do and I went to him to seek funding, we actually spent probably about 10 or 15 minutes talking about the transaction. His focus really was always on the integrity of the issues around the deal, why we're doing the transaction, what the security structure was, who would be affected by it. And his focus entirely was not necessarily on the commercial returns, but it was always focused on the integrity and character of those behind the transaction. And I must say that is one of the areas which he hasn't really touched on in his book, because a lot of bank failures occurred in the early days when he started and when we were all being supported, because a lot of the banking entrepreneurs of that age wanted to be investors in your business. And rather than focus on the banking sector, protecting the assets of the bank in the way and manner they loan money to you, they spend half their time trying to figure out a way of getting some subsidiary of theirs or anything to get involved in your business. And in the end, when there was failure in Nigeria, majority of the non-performing loans were always insider loans granted by those banking entrepreneurs. So that discipline which he had of arriving at 7 a.m. in the morning was also a discipline he had in terms of who he chose, who he loaned money to, and the focus of the lending was always character lending, and eventually that integrity was transferred into a substantial reduction or non-existence to a certain extent of non-performing loans on his books, and hence the success we know.
One of the main reasons why you're different from many of the other business people is because you have vision. You're a visual person. Go into his office and you'll see a giant Bruce Olobrakpeya picture. He loves art because he's visual. Jim is able to see things before everybody else sees them. He sees the shapes through the shadows. He saw that with IT, he saw it in banking, the list goes on and on and on. Jim has that special vision. I wish more of us had that vision. And I think that really is part of your success, and I think that's what you're trying to pass on to the next generation. We went into his office just a few months ago with a crazy idea to join countries and companies together on one platform for humanitarian work in the Northeast. We sat down and together with our colleagues, we explained what we wanted to do. This was a platform we would collaborate, it would be measurable, it would be accountable. And Jim said, I'm in. And Jim is now, ladies and gentlemen, the co-chair of the Nigerian Humanitarian Private Sector.
He has a great heart.
Yes.
A great heart. And I think if there's one thing that, and I think the last speaker, someone mentioned that here, I think that is very, very critical. I think he mentioned it from the economic study. Yeah. So it's a great trait to have. That great heart is what is responsible for the Jim Ovia Foundation, for James Hope College, for the Northeast Fund for the ravaged northeastern Nigeria and all of that. That is what is responsible for him every year, taking care of orphans in Lagos through his wife Kay. And that's responsible for many other philanthropic things that are not even mentioned in the book that he has done over the years.
And indeed, how he has successfully combined his business acumen with being a family man.
Jim knows how to handle. I mean, if you go to chapter 26, when he says the work and the family, you can't ask a man like Jim to divide his work or be separate. We'll keep the work aside and keep family aside. Both have to be intermingled for him to be happy, for us to be happy. If you tell Jim to drop his work, he might, but he will not be a happy man. So it's better to allow him to do what he has to do, come out with the best he can, and then it makes all of us happy. Just him being happy, and then we can now see the very best in him. So I don't think I could have ever asked him to separate work from the family. It has to be something that is co-joined and becomes significant to him. All his children say, "Oh no, Dad, he's monitoring us." I said, well, everything he does is with a passion. If he wants you to be the best you can be, and I think it's a way of also teaching them and teaching us as a family how to be passionate about anything we do. Because if you look at it, some people go through life without anybody mentoring them or anybody, overseeing what they're doing. But if you have somebody that can mentor you and you take just a little chapter, a little piece from his book and, just take a peephole, I think it served us all a long way.
The author's wife also shares her insights on the possibility of another book from her husband.
He went into banking, and every business he starts, Jim, think, how many years is it going to take you to finish this? Or how many years are you going to take to settle this? So anything Jim starts, we're going to support him. We're his family. Likewise, he supports us in anything we do. So if he's going to become an author now, we're ready to go with him the whole 9 yards. Yes, the book took a long time in coming, but I think Jim was steadfast and he was so determined that this story had to be told. So being behind, he did all the writing, he did all the work, but just being there to celebrate with him, I think it's just awesome.
While Africa digests Jim Ovia's first attempt at documenting his views on the need for the continent to rise and shine beyond the issues that have held back its growth for so long, the author is also passing out a strong message to Africa's teeming youth and innovative population. Never allow the perception of others impact your own vision of what is possible for the future.